Welcome back, friends, to EU League. Heroic versus BDS is about to begin. Our second match of the day. I don't even know how to call it at this point. There's so many exciting matches that we're looking forward to, and this one definitely hits all the way atop on that list. Welcome back to the Analyst Desk. I'm Ellis, your host. With me are Fresh and Ollie. Gentlemen, you look beautiful today.
Thank you, thank you.
You smell fantastic also.
Ollie does really smell fantastic.
Yeah, I don't know
what I bring to the table, but he smells really good.
The hair. It's definitely the hair check. He pays money for this. Anyways.
My personality trait is my hair. How bad a life do I have?
Hey, you could be me in 2018 and your personality trait being I play Zofia in Legion.
True.
Pretty
Could
basic.
always be worse. Yeah.
Pretty basic.
There you go. Anyways, let's talk about these two squads. First of all, with BDS, Likefak is doing great with the team. The entire squad is functioning, blasting on all cylinders. They are looking for more, despite going to overtime against outsiders.
Yeah, I think they've won both games, right? Both games, all three games. We've yet to see BDS. You know, we saw Rogue just then against G2 come out and put an absolute domination, a display on. We've yet to see that from BDS, especially given that they've played Wolves and Outsiders on BDS's favourite map, which was Clubhouse the past 2 weeks. Both overtime wins. But it's about points accumulation at this point in the season, so I'm not going to be one to stand here and say, oh, they've got 7 points, but they should have 9. There's certainly room for improvement, even though they're at 100% win rate. But this change, EFAT coming in alongside Shaiko, they are the two guys where you're like, you kill one, you're like, oh my god, the other's going to just come and kill 4 of us. They genuinely are that good. And then, you know, big props to the other players as well. Playday, Lems, and Renshi, especially Lems and Renshi that have gone more onto the back line to support this change. It seems to be working out well.
It really does, and it was about time, really, for Shaiko that someone came and took a little bit of the load off, wasn't it? Because he's always been known as a very deadly player, but if not backed up sufficiently, it never really came through. So now you've got Likefak on there as well, who is going to be able to, you know, really provide a lot of that killing power, and already he's outclassing.
He's a provider, and that's all you can say, really, about him and the squad together. We talked about kind of the Shaiko Likefak situation on the team. See if it continues on for today. I mean, if anything, Renshiro was carrying the team over the past couple of play days, so who knows? Heroic, though, on the other side, seems like they've woken up. They've been shaken through stage 2, and they are back in business, sitting at first now.
Well, another team with 100% win rate, and again, a couple of overtime wins, but once again, I think teams, players, fans, analysts, casters, hosts, everybody underestimated what Heroic would do this stage. I think they thought they'd take a couple of steps backwards to enable those steps forwards in future stages. Heroic said, screw that, we're going to be really good from the start. Got 3 wins so far, looking really good, and their team play once again is exceptional.
I'll thank you for being inclusive for the host, because there's only
no problem, Milosh.
There you go. Ollie, your thoughts about this team, because there's a lot of history for them now.
There really is, and I'm going to come out here and say it. I think we might be looking at a little bit of a honeymoon period here with this team. Because changes have been made, changes have been successful, and they've seen success off the back of it. When does that start to come down to reality? When does like a normal service resume? Is this just consistency now that we can expect week in, week out? We saw they were unsuccessful in NPL, for anyone unaware. That's the Northern Premier League. It's a sort of national league for UK and Ireland and the Nordic regions. They were unsuccessful there in the finals against 10-Star. So things aren't going swimmingly well for Heroic. Obviously, they've got other focuses, the focus mainly being EUL.
Yep.
Those changes that have come in, they've brought in that fresh mentality. They've brought in, like I say, that honeymoon period. Is it enough? Is it sustainable in the long term?
What do you think?
I think the one thing about Heroic is the changes have worked well. They've done well in EUL. But that point about NPL is one that you can say, sure, it's tier 3, right? But the one thing about it is Heroic have always suffered with this mentality is when the push comes to shove, when the pressure's down, when the chips on the table, they tend to fold. You know, they've folded in big games that's cost them majors, cost them invitationals. They folded in the Charlotte major. And again, NPL finals come along and you say, sure, it's just tier 3. But there was pressure in that game because there's a new up-and-coming team in 10-Star that were going at them. And ultimately, Heroic once again folded. So there's still a question mark in the back of my mind when we get to the back end of the stages. But from what we've seen inside of EUL alone, really good stuff from them. So it's kind of not yet decided still.
Yeah, still a lot of work to be, and this is kind of the pressure that you put on yourself, right? Going to a new stage with roster changes, you kind of have to go through the gauntlet, whether you like it or not. But then our map, which set of gauntlets, challenges, teams will have to go through, it'll be on Chalet. All right, cool. We're going to go to the French Alps, and Heroic starting off on the defense. BDS have chosen the attack, which makes a lot of sense given the current metagame and Chalet. But other than that, Jack?
It's a very low preference map for BDS. They've not liked this map over the past 6 months or so.
Okay.
But it's just not a map that they've tended to dislike. They tend to dislike Chalet Villa generally as kind of two-pair. Man's recent dispreference for Oregon as well. But what I will say is that BDS went up against Heroic here in stage 1. Obviously, slightly different rosters for both sides. And Heroic did come out, but it was 7-5. It was very close.
Yeah, and there's that little bit of history there, like you've said, different rosters, different times. Chalet at the moment, a pretty good attacker map. It has been for quite some time, and we've seen that as a strength from both of these sides. So throwing this one really up in the air again, I don't really know which way it's going to go. And
just a moment, I know you saw the countdown going down to 0 and has kind of escaped your screen here because we have a small tech issue on the player side. We'll have that sorted out in just a minute here, so don't worry about it. It just gives us a bit more time to talk about, for example, operator compositions. What is there to kind of expect in this case? I don't want to have the exact setup for all of it, but what can we see from Heroic, because this is their map pick?
One of the things that I love about Heroic's attacks, when I reviewed them, and this is kind of, it's not necessarily map specific, but it's the way that they work and operate. So they're kind of, they sit in this front line of three players in the front, 2 in the back, 2 support players, that's Uno, Grizzly. Then you kind of get Benja doing his own thing, and then Mello and Doom operating as a duo, right? But the one thing, and the reason that I rate Grizzly so highly as a player, is Grizzly's often playing that Dokkaebi. And, Benja will spot an opportunity. Doom and Mello will spot an opportunity and say, we need a call. Doesn't matter what Grizzly's doing, stops, calls for them. And you've seen when Benja's making these big plays on the entry, getting the double, triple kills, it really is a team effort. Uno will be on the drone for him. Grizzly will have called on the Dokkaebi call for him, and Benja goes and makes the play. And that's how Heroic operate. And to be fair, if I was BDS, doesn't really matter what I'm thinking operator ban-wise, because it's Chalet, it's nice and flexible. I would genuinely just get rid of the Dokkaebi from Grizzly, because I think he had a negative EPS. He had like an 83 EPS, but he enables those guys at the front so well.
I can stand by that, and I can actually give a bit of a quick example.
Go ahead.
Watching NPL and getting actually the fortune to stand behind Heroic as they were playing some of the games, Grizzly was by far and away one of the more vocal players on the team. They aren't this high-energy team. They're not whooping and hollering at the end of every round. It's almost polar opposite to think of a team like Rogue, for example, where you see that high energy. There isn't that. They're a very even keel for the majority of the time, but the vocal calls are often coming from Grizzly. So, as you mentioned there, that lower EPS, it doesn't take into account things like call-outs, what's going on through the comms, and what actually is bringing in other ways.
And if I'm not mistaken, Heroic are back at boot camp. It seems like they're basically
They had one day off.
The what?
They had one day off. Do you remember? Anarchic in the interview last week said we'll have one day off, then we'll go back to boot camp.
That's plenty of time, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a day.
Hey, that's
they probably all played ranked anyway.
A whole day when they're not doing 10 hours of theory? What's going on?
Yeah.
See, that's what makes teams fail.
Well, it's difficult for us to speak on, isn't it?
On the spot there. Give your opinion on Heroic's math schedule.
It's difficult to speak on,
I'm
isn't
the
it?
one saying it. I'm just putting it out there. I can take it. Don't worry about it. I'm just a dumb host. I don't need to know anything anyways. There you go. I mean, we're talking about T3. NA's happening also tomorrow night, so there we go. Everything's set. Lobby's ready also, so there you go. Perfect timing for it. I was so happy that it was on camera 1. But then again, everybody loves trash talk, so we might as well do a bit of it, right? Thank you very much, Ollie and Jack. Almost called you Jake there. BDS versus Heroic is ready to go. It's happening. Enjoy.
It's not weird how he trash talks his own strategies. I have a couple of questions.
Yes.
One, the very funny question was in the previous game. It's not really a question, it's more just a statement. In the previous game, Des and Tim had to rehost. Fresh comes in, he sits down, he goes, they're just talking about nothing. These guys had a minute to fill that. A minute and it fell apart.
It's an art, filling.
I mean, Des and Tim, there you go. That's support from the casting duo. Hi, hello, yes. On the end of your joke, that is maybe Mr. Officer on the other side.
Yes, we've still never seen him in the same room.
And the second part of this, Chalet. We've seen it once this stage. It was the opening game. It was Eminem, and it was a close game. It almost went all the way. But we haven't really had the fullest taste in EUL, at least, of what Chalet plays like in the current sort of setup of meta.
It is still funny if we look at the history of Chalet. Like when it was first reintroduced to the competitive map pool, EU, they dabbled in it a little bit, but not as much as NA or LATAM would, for example. League Effect really happy with the Nuck ban there, by the way. And then we got absolutely pulled apart by those two regions on this map on the international stage. Since then, seen a bit more play, but this stage, not really that much, as you just mentioned. And that leaves some questions left to be answered by these two teams as we slowly progress through these bans. And Heroic looking to maintain their top 1 position, whereas BDS is looking to fortify themselves within that top 4 after, of course, missing out during the last major.
A really unsurprising ban selection there. And it's quite funny saying that now when you're sort of looking at the Thatch in the mirror. Okay, they're often quite there, but Azami and Nook over the past, I'm going to say split and a half.
Yeah.
Because it's Azami sort of the stretch over the previous split in this one. Nook is really only this one. Have just sort of taken the top spots on those first and last position in terms of bans. But Heroic, starting on your defense, holding off against the approach here of BDS. As I said, it was a very even game. 3-3 was the opening half, and then a 4-2 on the second. It went to every single round. It shouldn't have. Ooh. That's interesting.
Don't see that often. Is of course to stop any charges from reaching them. The banner pellets, Salma charges, something like that will be destroyed by the Bennett wire. And I mean, if you have one left, why not, right? I mean, it provides a little bit more security to that shield and the player right behind it, especially doubled up with the ADS that will catch the very first projectile tossed at it. So, I'd like to see it, even though it's often not super effective.
All right, BDS. Heroic, they're starting with themselves backed into a corner. We can quote statistics all we want, but this is a map that does play itself on our previous statistics, where we had a little bit more play of it in the previous split, as sensational for a good attacking team, and they're a team that's found some good attacks. Shaiko wasting no time getting in underneath. That bullet might give a bit of the game away, but he's still going to play that grenade. Melo's just tucked himself in on the solid, suffers half a face of damage, but not enough for them to get the full whack.
Still going to be a bullet less that they need to fire at Melo to take him out later, though. But that's, of course, not what you're looking for if you use these grenades. You want to take out an important piece of utility or a player at its whole. Ju will be finding LMs first, though. That is going to be the entry from the defense on towards the attack. And I believe there was a repel, indeed.
Yeah, the pulse. He was sat in the corner around the balcony. We saw it at the beginning. Shaiko gets one back, though. Uno caught out just on the swing there. They were sort of pinching the man out around the solarium stairs. Shaiko wants to swing around for this next engagement. Likifak is the one that actually finds out ahead, but it's a fight underneath. Likifak caught out, but still somehow wins out. Really should have been Grizzlies there. It's a trade on the top floor, leaving just Melo left. He's looking towards Renshiro on the big double window. He knows the pressure of the two gunners of Shaiko and Likifak is coming, not even, of Playday and Likifak. It's coming from the opposite side. They're holding off for a second here, tucked into a slightly new location, hoping the drone is rolled past. He wants to get a surprise strike here. The 9mm can be decisive in its own way, but BDS aren't risking anything.
Also has a suppressor on it, so you won't see any traces appear. So might be a true surprising factor here if the drone does not spot out the player, but we can, well, cross that one off the list. They know exactly where he is and where he will be going now. It's just a matter of getting everybody ready and in the right position before these Candelas start popping. The grenade will follow up soon as well. Maybe, no. Oh, actually goes through the wall. Deals quite a bit of damage to Melo. Was never going to kill him. It's just a single bullet to take him out now.
Blinds to the top of the stairs. Pallady's pushing in ahead of it. Likifak is holding onto the double window, ready to swing into the engagement. They both have a sliver of health. Pallady's actually going to stick the plant instead. BDS, they do have a focus on the objective. They're not going to risk it. Melo, wow, he tried to find the fight, but BDS open us up with the first round.
It was a good position he was playing in, Melo, but, you know, that's why BDS decided to go for the plant instead. Force him to come towards you. You have enough control. You have the cover, so a good decision made there by BDS, looking to play that objective at all costs instead of risking these 1v1s with Likifak, of course, on that window being literally a sliver of HP. And that's round one. Kitchen dining next. No doubling down from Heroic. As looking over towards the attack again, we do for now see the Ying coming out. I'm still hoping that we might see some more sense play, especially on this side.
You always say that.
This side, I love Sense and their ability. It's just that
You love Sense on two sites on this map. You just love Sense and Chalet. You like what they can bring on dining as well.
it's because of the direct drone holes.
Oh, well,
it is dining, yes.
Oh yeah. Sorry, they flicked onto a different site at the beginning there and changed it, and I did the amateur mistake of rating the first site they were on in my notes. I was also thinking about billiards as the other site where it's great.
Yeah, but I mean, barring gaming, billiards is definitely going to be a good one to use it in as well. I mean, everywhere where you have these drone holes with power positions on the other side, think of, for example, the supply line. You can just easily block that off with one of those light screens, but not on the board right now, so no real use of discussing as of yet. Talking about drone holes, Cracker's holding one tight, hoping for a feet or leg to pass by, just to deal a little bit of chip damage. That's not just one, that's two drone holes right after one another.
Wow, they're trying to find some way to apply this quick pressure in. The grenade once again sails a little bit too far. The pings come through on the player. They're hitting the barb and hoping for the fight. Liquefact didn't quite get the full scratch. The second grenade. Oh, that gets it. Grizzly caught out. The floor already destroyed, suffers some of the wrong end, and although you're standing on sturdy floor, it seems in that position it's not enough, but at least Uno does some of that to bring themselves back in. Tucks and rotates round. Benja gets a freebie on the back of a Lems, once again removed. Missed the player, swung round. Benja too quick on the peak, missed Shaiko. Liquefact finds Uno, and that is just a terrible moment there.
Very lucky that Shaiko didn't see him up until the second swing as well. Now gets taken out by Benja, who's retaking that bottom floor, and it's going to be a ever-looming threat. The diffuser, of course, not down. Can still recover that. It's not in the basement, I believe, because they do not have it in hands. And as Mallow will find BDS, as he did not check his corner. It is Benja that will come back upstairs from west, and will find the final kill as well, equalizing that score and making sure that they stay in this fight.
I mean, a little bit of a question there for a little bit of a couple of moments. Obviously, that final run in from Playday, the first engagement goes, he seemed to be holding the angle, and I mean, it was a very aggressive little tucked in pocket and corner where they got an incorrect call or something, just throwing themselves in. There was still a bit of time left to sort of play around with. They went for something bold, and I mean, twice there were two moments where...
I mean, you get as well, Benja basically revealing himself, opening up, missing the first opportunity to spray there. No one having an ID where he was.
Do we have it? He just...
Okay, so this is very awkward because he swings to the left at this moment. Probably didn't register it until just now and was like, wait, I swear there was a player out there.
Imagine, and this is in no way the case. No way the case. Yeah. But imagine afterwards he goes, oh, I just play on 60 FOV.
Then yeah. Don't know what the response would be.
He doesn't.
I hope he doesn't. No.
You would be...
If he does, we can also not really blame him considering the numbers he usually puts up on the board.
Yeah, I mean, if he does, I would...
You know, I would extra zoom.
I would be like, is there something I'm missing? Not playing on 60. All right. Missing. I'm doing so far. It's also worth remembering this is a rough fight around the top of the board. Now that we've obviously got, you know, Rogue have put themselves up towards 8 points. They're sitting alongside Heroic at the top. BDS, they're on 7, but Na'Vi and Outsiders both caught up to 7. Both these teams need as many points from this as possible, preferably the 3, to put a bit of distance between them. Heroic want to try and keep the top spot, and BDS want to claim it for their own, which at this point in the season would be massive. The drive of Liquefact on the Ying. The site is empty. Apart from one faraway player, they might be able to get a read, but they're quite distracted by the push that's coming over on the far side. Liquefact, he's sort of putting a big statement. I believe there's somebody on the dining hatch, so they do have a quick drop round, but that's all the Candelas and a lot of smoke utilized. They're just happy to sit pretty and wait for them to sort of fall into the site for now.
Playday wants to plant right behind the bins, though, and the Goyo fire is going to be stopping that from happening now. They need to get rid of Mellow, but again, Heroic not really playing on the side. If they hit this directly, if they do manage to find Mellow, which could be the case as soon as Liquefact decides to push through, they could go for a plant, and there's nothing they can do about it. Now, Mellow digs in deeper, closer around the corner. Phone calls are starting to come out. Lems will find Grizzly. Uno will fall as well. BDS is getting kills left, right, and center. But Mellow's still hiding in that crucial position where he can stop this plant from happening.
Calls are coming through. The mute jam stopped it for him. Renshiro, oh, he checks his corners. He's not falling for any of the mistakes that happened on the previous round, and now they're going to set themselves in and try and get the plant. The cover is on the back stairs, and it's Likefak getting the double, getting the flawless, and getting the second round for BDS.
I believe they knew exactly who was playing in that corner. Of course, you heard phone calls going off earlier. You hear the noise as well. Someone digs in, and it's quite a telling sign, right? When you have two players on the breach and they're not moving an inch, they know someone's on the other side. You wait for that player to come down the main stairs. So well done by BDS, well orchestrated there. And kind of odd how Heroic left that site so empty. Lost so many players and didn't think it was a good idea to go back yet until Mello fell. Now, must have been reasons for that. Either way, they lost that round, and BDS has been able to pick that one up. Back to the top floor we go. As a result of that, completing their rotation just with a single win, however.
All right, back up to the top, and this was where BDS were able to get themselves off to a pretty good opener. Ended up in about a 3 versus 1 with all the time in the world to drone it out, recheck it, force the play, and even try and go for the plant. Something that we've seen, I guess, become a little bit more of an affray on the second site itself here. BDS might be able to give themselves that buffer in case there is a return, or Heroic might be able to set themselves up for a slight story of success. As we generally say, you're looking on your defense for at least 3. I think it's fair to sort of call it at the minute. You expected 2 in a previous meta, but now we've obviously had a big sort of change with defenders getting themselves in a good stead across the board.
2 or 3 is really what they'll be looking at to have a good fight here. And as they continue to place themselves all around the map, this BDS again looking for the solution to the puzzle. Quickly needing to find some information, locking off some of the jump outs, preparing them even for Heroic as a sort of welcome gift. Chuck needs to be very careful here. Joom could be about to spot him out with a cardiac sensor. No, instead goes to the player inside bar. Knows he's all alone as well. That's Likefak. His drone just got removed from the game as well.
As does that camera. Taken out. Mello, he's playing himself safe here, tucked in. Shaiko's going for a slightly different approach with the grenades. Doesn't think he'll net the same score twice. But with some attention paid to some detail, can they force the player into a trickier situation? There's the ping, the pull of that, the hefty use, the quick throw on the grenade to see if there's anybody caught round on the side, the blinds, but nobody's right behind it, over towards the chassis itself. They're still sort of keeping an arm's length, though. You can see that Grizzly's locked in underneath. Likefak might be the surprise strike, but Benja, he's hoping they go towards that box wall, and he can try and get them from underneath. Heroics just sort of keeping themselves one arm slightly further away than the approach, and BDS, well, they're trying to weigh up where to start it from.
Likefak so close to Joom. Probably doesn't even have a clue. Joom opens up though, allows Likefak to come in, sweep him up, but not before his teammate falls. Spots out the frost, but isn't able to respond in time. Instead, digs in deeper towards the office, secures the site. See if they can go for a plant in just a moment. But it's Benja with a double kill that shuts down the diffuser and shuts down Likefak. And after that, Shaiko as well. A triple kill from him.
Oh, it's just a bit of a comedy of errors there. We obviously talked about him being on the flank. He was far away in the position, hanging around by the fireplace, sitting about by the bar, enjoying his time. He got the call that stuff had gone wrong on site. Likefak pushed towards the site itself instead of trying to cement the kill onto the frost. They saw the barrel again. It's easier for us in this position because we are obviously a lot less stressed than players. Took a decision to go into the site as the sort of drive through on the back of getting revenge for the first kill. Okay, but then the response there from BDS. Benja getting up behind, getting 1, getting 2, then getting the 3rd, all from around that same site. You do wonder, you know, if it's that sort of BDS that we had a couple of questions on in the previous split, where communication sometimes gets a little bit messy.
I mean, I think what happened there is Benja was left behind to try and hunt down Likefak, right? He realized where he was.
Entirely.
They passed each other without spotting each other. Likefak makes it in, finds the site, clears it out, and he's making the call. Hey, site is clear, you can come for a plant. But that window is open. And they didn't know Benja was out there to hunt him, so Benja just finds the diffuser with some like lucky grace, right timing, everything like that, shuts him down, and after that just continues to rack up the rest of the kills. So it is just because Likefak wasn't able to find the encounter with Benja earlier that led them to not have any information he was currently on the flank and coming back upstairs. It's just funny how that works. These small little things that should have given them all the info they needed.
Right, let's see if the drive here can be a bit more precise from the sides of BDS. It's, as I said, a bit of a strange moment. You'll see them one round and everything's in control. In the second, they miss a checked corner and they miss a drive and a sneaky Benja here. Well, they've learned a lesson from that trick. The first grenade is caught out, and that requires 2 to be able to pop the boards open, get the second drove in. A great drone there from Playday. It's giving them all the read and the meat inside the kitchen. They know where everybody's tucked in, but can they try and find a way to dig them out is the question. Look at this, a lot of aggression, trying to cut this floor in half. Shaiko with this grenade wants to bounce it around. Is there a disc? No.
He might have tried to get someone in the bathtub if that was going to be the case. Not, of course, no kill picked up. But at least that gives them the information. Hey, the bathroom is clear. Now the Gemini replicator will move in. Grizzly will soon be realized and spotted out. There'll be some Candelas that come in as well. That will blind him if he's out there. And it will provide an opportunity for Shaiko to move in and hold his angle.
Oh, they wanted to get rewarded there. There's the pings on the player. They are circling Grizzly from every single angle. Mello inside the side takes the first bit of damage. Doom has the cover onto Shaiko. He's looking for the next engagement as Likefak has already swung around the corner. Grizzly's still tucked. Lems finds Mello. That's down underneath as well, but they're still flooding over the top and the site itself. Benja wants to try and find this engagement. Playday, he's holding the upside down rappel itself. It's Likefak that finds out Grizzly. Finally, they've got that vertical control. Now they can sort of try and capitalize on the site underneath, but this Benja, the rotate once again, he doesn't feel entirely convinced about it. He thinks there might be somebody watching, so he pops his way back to site.
I mean, he punched a window out there, so they knew exactly who was going to be there, so ready to respond at any given time. So it's better for him to fall back to that site, see if he can take the confrontation out here towards West Main, hoping to pick up one, splits out the head, and will find Likefak as well, shuts him down, 2-on-3. Still a comeback needing to be made by Heroic, though.
Young Gunner versus Young Gunner, you got to have the game of your life, and so far, Benja and Likefak are not disappointing. Uno, he's being hunted by another old hand, though. Renshiro is the other half of that, and they're going to see if they can have an engagement. Alems wants to creep his way down the stairs and creeps his way through. Uno takes a head off, leaves a 20-second 1 versus 3. Benja, he has some intel coming off the Maestro cam and the tail end of a blind from the Candela. Playday, he's got the kit and trying to get himself into position. Long-range grenades aren't going to be enough. Playday is stuck behind the chassis itself. They have 2 bodies covering it. They're rolling everything but a take through the soft. Gets one, just misses the wrong end there. The backpack, 2 French players tucked behind the chassis, but they're pretty good in the kitchen, the French.
I like how they're just both staying there, not moving at all, and then they were like, okay, 3, 2, 1, and then one goes left, one goes right on the bomb chassis, opening up at the same time. Also at the same time, Benja actually went off on holding the angle. And BDS, they lead 3 rounds, needing to find one more to find themselves in a comfortable position for that second half. And it is indeed going to be downstairs again as Heroic continues their rotation. Now, this last time was only guarded by a single player on the site. He was Mello. There was some fire out there to slow them down, but BDS had no business trying to take that top floor under control. They realized, hey, if we take out that one player, we can plant, and we are basically going to be the defenders with a lot less time given to the remaining team to try and retake. Oryx on the board though. Benja, love to see it. Just quickly jumping up the hatch to create some extra angles and dropping back down.
I mean, as I said, if there's 2 players that really sort of feel that this game is going to be one they've got to put their best in, it's this. You know the competition. It's Young Lions, isn't it? It's everybody wants to be the coolest, toughest, best Rainbow Six Siege playing Lion. But there can be only one.
There can be only one.
Best line. Best line. Benja and Likefak in the best line competition.
Is Russell like a cheetah or a snow leopard competition? You like snow leopards.
I know, but it's a different.
Ooh. I hope they don't rush.
Well, they can't now.
Yeah.
There's the fire gone, the mute jammer removed. They get the wall open with the same pace and precision as they did last time round. It was a good swing from them onto the site. They're going to hold off, and I guess it's down to see what's changed from the side of Heroic. It does seem like BDS might be paying a little bit more attention towards potentially the players above, but there's at least one more inside the site this time around.
I was going to say, that is the big change. We do have an extra player on the site, near Wine currently. Mello is playing around those staircases up towards Fireplace, so there is at least 2 currently protecting. But a grenade can definitely change that, because that one is currently being cooked up. If that lands close enough, certainly it's only one player on that side, and the rest of Heroic needs to get back very quickly.
Very well played, gets rid of the Banshee. The second and the third grenade, but Playday is the grenade, pops off and plants inside the site, round the stairs. That's there, Zuno gets one on the back end, takes care of Alems, but we're now in a post-plant game. Grizzly puts it as a 3 versus 3. Likefak sees a sliver, but cannot quite get the full connection of the glass. Grizzly with the jump out, but it's watched from range from Shaiko. Now they've got themselves back to the site. June goes down, the pickup comes out into their favor. Tries to swing his way back in as gonna bait a little bit of pressure. The grenade bounced the wrong way, but there is Shaiko just round on the side.
This grenade could have been a real Doki moment.
Imagine.
Both those players were out there on that breach. It's a surprise it didn't kill them that close to themselves. But BDS able to, again, go for a very quick execute downstairs. They realize, okay, there is a player currently down on the fireplace stairs. We'll toss some grenades down there. We just make sure he's really stuck in place. We push him, we take him out, the plant comes through, nothing left for the defenders but trying to retake with about 40 seconds on that clock, or actually even 38 before you need to stick that diffuser and end it. And Heroic, again, too slow on that response. They didn't have the control to find an immediate answer. You really wanted to have players in and around fireplace to instantly descend down those stairs and ensure that that plant would be stopped. But of course, with Renshiro active on that window, would have been quite difficult to pull off. 4-2. BDS now on their defense themselves. Heroic leading in on the attack. See if they can solve the puzzles that BDS will be slowly shaping up for them. Utility pieces being placed everywhere, shields being set up. No reinforcements, of course, blocking off some lines of sight.
How much can this now be driven by the attack of Heroic? Got to try and pull some of that old-fashioned Chalet magic together to put themselves here against BDS, who, as I said, on the rounds that they're in control, were so in control. And then a couple of moments, things got a little bit slippy. The pressure and the swing through there was a little bit of a squeaky moment for Alems, but he's actually going to tuck himself back in. I think he might have been caught on a drone as he went for the rotation. Yep, you can see it in the far opposite corner. Benja has the full read. The Twitch drone is trying to get as much utility out as it can. Doom's going to hold the angle. Hope he drifts on by and goes for an escape here. It's a narrow second you get for the fight itself. There's grenades to bounce. There's the pressure coming across. Are you going to take it, Alems? How long are you going to sit here and survive? Because sooner or later, those gates will pop back into life. They have some utility. They have their grenades. They have the burn. There's the push, doesn't get the kill. And Alems is free to push back.
Well done there by Alems. Realized that that Magna was about to burn, so he had to go. Unfortunate that Heroic didn't have that crossfire ready to perform. Zoom not quite able to find a shot as Zuno takes a bit of a scrape, trying to put down some. It's Zoom with the grenade kill anyway on Renshiro. He also tried to fall back, but to no avail.
Very well read there. They made sure that those pellets would pop off. They assumed somebody might try and get it. It was a little bit of that luck of them rotating into it as it exploded. I don't think it was fully cooked to pop, but if I'm correct or wrong, I guess we'll see later. Either way, it catches him at the worst possible time. Tried to save a wall, lost his life for it. Playday, he's underneath. You're still looking at BDS wasting a huge amount of time here on the top floor. They've obviously lost one life out of it, but 2 minutes as the trade-off with the work that Alems did. And they're still just trying to find very unsteady feet inside the verticality in the second story of this building.
Benja having a bit of a challenge out here from the fireplace window as well. Likefak will go down to Joom as he finds his second in the round. But as long as BDS has control of the pantry, both these sides will be accessible to them. So that is going to be their major point. Shaiko still up in a position where he can rotate up and go for a bit of a late round flank as well. Shut them down from above if he manages to retake vertical control.
Grizzly, he's tucked around. Shaiko still holding on. The other two players have got themselves down in that supply line, back end of the site itself, and 37 seconds. Heroic needs to start trying to angle up for the fight on the site. Shaiko knows it. He's pulled himself a little bit more defensively on the blue stairs, but has the option to push up and down. He's just trying to make things a little bit more problematic for the approach here of Heroic. They've got a second guess, and there's a second guess. Alems and Shaiko one apiece. Suddenly a 3 versus 3 with 15 seconds on the board. A little bit of movement has absolutely opened up this round. Shaiko's touch round, gets one on the swing. Playday pushes the next off of sight, and 3 BDS players hold off the onslaught inside the bar.
And that's it. And I'm not going to say that this was due to the supply line because no kill came from there eventually. But as long as you still have that bottom floor under control, you are fluid around that map. You can just swing them from wherever they come because they cannot afford a hatch drop at that position. If the supply line is currently being occupied, you drop through the hatch in gaming, you'll die. You do the M-bar, same thing will happen. So they needed to take these vertical fights and they were unable to lock them out. And then a 5v3 just slips away from you, and a tactical timeout will be called. Mr. Officer in the back of Uno, you can see him there, just having a bit of a chat. I don't know how quickly Milos got over there, but he's definitely putting in some miles.
Is that the head of an Arctic in the back of Mello on the left?
Could be, yes. It is. Pretty sure. But they're just having a chat, you know? Just making sure that whatever needed to be said has been said as they get back in it. Because from now on, there is no more breaks for the side of Heroic. All they can do is wait until BDS calls their own. That's when their staff also gets unmuted and can have a chat again. But of course, that is completely out of their own hands. And that means they need to fire off that reply towards BDS now. Start putting up these rounds on the board. Head towards an overtime situation. Otherwise, you lose yourself some 3-pointers here. Technically 6, as we always say. You know?
It's a 6-point.
It's a 6-point game.
Well, this is the thing about the Playday today is for a while. I mean, EUL had a lot of teams with a lot of similar points. You find, obviously, that is split up and broken up the more time goes on. That's just the nature of the beast. The more teams that are having the same success rate play each other, the more of a separation you get. BDS and Heroic are very close to having the same success rate, coming into this with 8 points and 7 points. But you're also obviously looking at what Na'Vi and Outsiders get the 3-point jump. They're sitting now around on 7, whereas G2 and Team Secret falling around onto 4 points itself. That divide is at minimum, depending on the M&M result, could be 3 points, could be a full fat game for the first time. And that's when it's massively dangerous between the top half and the bottom half of the table, when there's at least an entire Playday between you and having a chance at catching them.
Yeah, because it starts to get so much more difficult to get yourself in a top 4 position, which is, of course, a position both these teams missed out on last stage as Renshiro finds the first onto Benjin. Not quite the start they would have hoped for, but luckily a lot of damage done to both Alems and Renshiro, meaning only a couple of bullets away from getting back in power in this half.
I mean, it's devastating to lose Benja in this engagement, but Doom has massively stepped up over the past couple of rounds, and the role of the Iana takes care of Alems. They lose the Aruni. Bride, he was hoping to get a bit of revenge. Shaiko's in a swing position too, if they can get the call at the right time, right place.
Shoot it.
I think it was taken out by me. I'm not really sure who got that. Oh, do they know? Do they know? Shaiko, he really wants to go and explore.
This window is no longer being watched either, so he has the opportunity to just move up. He just realizes that by Joom. I believe he heard something. The pre-fire comes in, but Joom is a little bit quicker there. Finds a double for this round, and that is going to be Heroic in control of this round as well.
Well, it's another setup versus 3 players. That C4 is placed and ready to go. I'm not sure if they have any intel. Now they have less intel, but Leak Effect does find Mello. Brings it back to a 3 versus 3, an even balanced hand. They've now got themselves an opportunity to try and drive themselves further ahead. The pop comes a little bit premature because, as we saw, they lost that Valkyrie cam. They have the player playing loose all the way underneath. They're good at playing this game, BDS, against time. Heroic, they've got to see if they can try and formulate something, set it up with a little bit more pizzazz than it was on the previous round. Slips by, doesn't quite get fully caught out as the pressure comes its way across here. On the side of Trophy, a big rotate round on the backside. There's a catch from Doom. Again, having a massive round here for the hopes of Heroic. Uno, gonna see if he can get the plant down. A lot of time, a very scrappy engagement. Alike Fact, but he's able to slip his way up, but not very far. Grizzly has it, and Bride has everything in front of him to see if he can try and pull this round back for BDS after the tag timeout. For Heroic, they've been able to edge themselves a plant here with full vertical control, 2 bodies and 1 inside the site. No more. You assume the 2 up here can still lock it out without a monumental performance here from Bride, and he is a hell of a player. But this is a hell of a retake to try and put to do. Entirely soft above him. The kit, they know where it is. It's the default plant spot. They know how they can handle this. They're playing it cautiously. They're playing around time. They're not wasting it. They go for the engagement at the same time. 5-3.
The fact that June was still up there is the reason why Heroic has been able to win that round. He first of all shuts down a player and Dining that looked to put up a bit of a challenge towards the plant position. And after that, when you find yourself in that post plant, well, there's almost no losing that when you have two players up on top above with verticality on that diffuser. There's just no way you can do that safely. You need to bring the challenge to them. He didn't have any utility to do that. He had an SMG-11 and a shotgun, and you might be lucky with a good pump, right? But it's still two players, and all they have to do is just let that time tick down, wait until the third tick comes through, and then they start swinging you. That's when they try and stop you from being on that diffuser. So a very tough ask from Playday there. He almost never was going to win that. And that puts Heroic one round back, closer towards Team BDS. Only 2 being the difference right now. BDS still only needing 1 round, though, to start finding points in this game. And that is what Heroic wants to prevent. They want to make sure that they pick up the full 3. Hence the time, and of course, being called in that last round.
It is awkward, being the 2 teams, obviously, that fell short just around the time of the previous major. It was close, and at one point it felt a little bit guaranteed. But obviously in this game, there's no such thing as proven by, unfortunately, both these 2 teams. So that extra weight coming into this, that extra difference, they are well aware how important it is against another current top 4 flight team. Playday, he's going to try and hold off and lock down the double door. There's a second drone. You assume he's going to be able to take care of that as well. Ready to juggle these claws. The first and the second both caught out, though. There's the third, and very well played. You see utility there. Gets that wall open, and both claws gone.
Now he placed his electro claws on the wall there, which meant that, of course, they were able to be reached by the EMP grenades. Didn't want to place them further away because of Twitch drones or grenades potentially being out there would have easily destroyed them. So it was no real way for him to keep that wall shut, except for with a bandit battery, but of course not on the board. And that means that the first opening has been made. The first breach is in the hands of Heroic, but now they need to start getting some verticality on their side. They need to put up the pressure, make sure that BDS feels uncomfortable in Snowmobile themselves.
Now the pressure comes from above, and Benja takes the head over Lambs. He stuck around a little bit too late in the party. Now they have a ping on the long-range fight all the way through towards Trophy, hoping the Liquefact drifts a little bit close to the engagement, but he's a man that's usually happy to take this. Look at all these yellow pings, though. I think even he senses the danger in this sort of approach, pulls himself to a slightly different location, and even then suffers. He's got to try and find a new home and a new place to sit and rest, to rotate. Background. Are they still aware of this presence? They're trying to find him above. They've lost him. They have the players that have rotated to try and hunt him. And now look at this position. He's got himself into a very clever bit of play here. Has wasted a lot of time. He takes the hatchback. But after a minute of playing around, and you know what? There's another hatch hap.
There's another hatch, but there's also another drone in that same position. So he's been taking out 3 drones now, but there's still an extra one out there. So if he does jump back up, they might actually be aware of that. It is in that plant spot on that half wall. So if Liquefact does decide to push through, they will be aware of him sooner rather than later.
Now set up there on the back of the stair set. There's the hold on the catch and grenades. Liquefact's explored his way to the top floor, but otherwise all of the players have left it, and you're looking at 40 seconds. Benja, he's watching the wrong story at this point. This grenade is just going to roll and tuck. We saw Liquefact take a drop round towards the dining side as well. The pressure is coming across. Uno's going for the plant right inside the breach. They have any awareness. The cover's from Benja there. There's the swing. Playday gets the plant, stops it in its tracks. 20 seconds. They got to try and fight their way through. We hear the pull of the pins on grenades, but it's a drop and a take from above. Liquefact, the grenade gets him a little bit post-mortem. They have the vertical drop. Liquefact pulls himself back towards the site as June finishes off Playday and picks up the kit. Has to hop. Hope the cover comes through there from the side of Melu there, waiting for the swing round. There's the first. Is he going to go for the second? The plant goes down. It's all down to Renshiro, who cannot quite find the tail of either 2 players. They're off. Not sure if there's still an Oster Shield on that far end. They've tucked themselves all the way around and sort of made the statement, there is. And they are as far away as possible. June, he's double stacked, waiting for the sound call at this point. The first is the catch, and Melu is the finish. 2 plants, 2 rounds. Only 1 separates them now.
And Chiro a bit too careful there. Of course, he had the lines of sight from the wall directly facing Snowmobile, but was afraid maybe that he was about to be swung by the player from blue that just took out his one teammate. I think if he would have gone for the defuse there, would have taken it out, might have been in time to step back and really put up the pressure towards Heroic, but not the case. In Heroic, they find themselves a 4th. Single round away from now equalizing that scoreline to BDS. BDS will decide to go to Bar and Gaming. That was a great opener, by the way, from Benja. Just opening up with the sledgehammer, finding a head at the bottom of it. No, not sure if it was a call out or if it was just some preparative work, you know, to stop any rotates back up from the fireplace stairs. But it was great nonetheless. As we head on towards the middle floor of Bar and Gaming, we said it last time around, as long as you have the supply line under control, there is relatively little that the attackers can do from the hatches. Dropping them is almost guaranteed to get you killed. Which means that they need to either get some pressure up from exactly this wall that Playday is currently closing with a Heart Breach charge, which is unable to be placed, I believe, with the can opener that Uno is carrying. So that wall will stay closed, which means they need to try and get some verticality in. Maybe some grenades to bounce around the corner.
Wow, we remember this site was where BDS found the success. They got themselves set up with the 5-3 response against Heroic. Even they had 3 BDS. They were on the wrong side of that, regardless of my poor phrasing. And they still won the round here. Heroic know that as well. Heroic know they had the momentum and the advantage, and they just could not find the capitalization at the end based on the great time wasting that came through from the BDS roster. So what's going to be the change up here? It seems like an approach from the opposite side. Instead of playing and gambling all their original time around the top of the windows directly onto Library, they've gone for the push here across Bedroom. They're going for something a little bit more lateral, getting themselves some angles open, some ideas on how they can put pressure onto the player from the opposite angles instead, and it might make a slightly different challenge here, but it does mean Alems is a lot safer.
Last time around, they did everything they could from that top floor, Emmy, and they need to be working on that same thing right now. They need to make sure they have that top floor control like they had it in the last round, but also focus on maybe the basement itself. When you start to get stuck on these library stairs that Schalke is currently playing about, you cannot just take that from that top floor. You might need to push it in from 2 different levels. But of course, we're not that far in yet. For now, just utility being wasted as the Lems finds June. That's no more grenades to be tossed in. That's a player that's currently on 11 kills out of the count.
Yeah, this is what I mean. Alems is a much safer position here with those not fully open. Those barricades give him that emblem, that idea that he can sort of swing with a bit of bravado here. Benja, he's going to stack in. Shaiko's watching the camera, but Benja gets the kill before they even swing around, and that's a great take. I mean, cammed himself in, knew exactly what he wanted to do there. Benja, he was a little bit adrift, and Grizzly now he's trying to apply some pressure elsewhere. Melo's got himself tucked in, rotating around on the split, looking towards the site itself. The call of the Banshee will give some of it away. It might make taking the rest of the top a bit easier, but 50 seconds, the top's just been handed to them anyway.
The top has been handed to them, but they lost 2 players this time around, something they didn't have to suffer in the previous attempt here. And now they still face 4 members of BDS, all located around that map. If you drop anywhere, if you descend any staircase, you will be fired upon. So they need to find a way through. Won't be happening through that window. Grizzly shut down. Melo trying to go a bit aggressive, hoping to lock down Shaiko, but he's being swung out by 2-3 different angles. And it's only up to Una now in a 1v4. A miracle needs to happen if he clutches this one out. He's quite close on the library stairs, but there's too many angles he needs to cover. He needs to get that diffuser down, but also very small chance of that happening.
I mean, it's 13 seconds. As soon as that happens, this happens. They had themselves watched from not only either side. Likefak, I believe, had gone down the stairs as well. BDS pulled themselves to a guaranteed point with 2 rounds to try and lock it out and get the full 3 here. They have an energy. They've only won it on the same site twice, though. So now's the challenge. Can they try and do it elsewhere? Where are they going to opt for? Kitchen or Snowmo? Both of them suffered a plant on the wrong end.
But there's also been like some clear mistakes that happened on both those sites. So if they have had a bit of an opportunity to talk between themselves, you know, in between these rounds, there's definitely something to be said about it. Last round, they went here. Top 4 control, crucial. June took it into his hands, made sure that plant was able to go down as he covered the attempted cancellation from BDS's side. If BDS this time plays a bit more heavy onto that top floor, plays into the verticality themselves, then Heroic needs to find an adaptation. If they drop out early again, what are you going to do if the plant is about to go down and Joom is still up above? You need to retake. So holding on to that top floor control, I think that's what BDS needs to be banking on right here.
I like how it says 5 versus 4 at the top middle.
Yeah, so it does that sometimes. I don't know why.
Who's it? Is it like saying that one of the BDS players isn't here? Is it like, all right, every BDS player, you go get a kill this round to make sure that the game knows that.
Game is roasting you otherwise.
Yeah, it's kind of mean of the game. Heroic, you probably don't want that to happen, because if that happens, you lose. So, 2 rounds. No more timeout from their end. BDS still have their option. The pressure starts to come across the top. More of this cam game. I think the drone game on the first half was generally pretty good. It was the face checking where things went a bit wrong on the side of BDS. And here on the latter, their cams have been played and placed very well. They've just not quite been always able to get the capitalization behind the back of it. The grenade rolls towards the close connection. They were a little bit too far away, Shaiko, to suffer any of the main meat and the damage, but does open up a little bit more of a width to the angle.
Now there's players in these staircases around Solarium now. They've just heard the proximity alarm to go off. And Shaco now is a bit worried. He knows a player could be coming up at any given time. Liquefac is debating to go for a bit of another run out. Now, is there a Claymore on the other side? That is the question I would like to see. No, doesn't seem to be the case. So as this repel comes in, he will be too late to pick up the kill into Capital.
Well, Alems isn't. He's able to take the head off from the swing there. There's a bit of a reveal. Renshiro gets one. The run out and the chaos has put them in a massive bonus here. Uno thought he was about to swing there, and well, the swing comes against him. There was the heavy hit of the rifle, and Renshiro's on the back end of it. The 2 players link up, make a connection with Uno's face. Grizzly and Mellow, all that's left here of Heroic's chance of being able to pull anything out of this game. Refiring the angles, trying to find it. The kit may as well be a Narnia, and Mellow's gone to join them, leaving just the Grizzly all alone. But not for long. BDS, a flawless round to end what was a little bit of a back and forth game for them, but still the most important statistic, 3 points, first place.
First place in pocket indeed, and I just quickly wanted to highlight, I said I needed to be playing more heavily onto that top floor, keep it into their own hands. Exactly what they did there. Heroic tried everything they could to take control of it, but BDS just a little bit stronger in the end there. 15 from Liquefac, 11 from Shaiko. Those 2 really were the spearheads from the BDS attack and defense here, as they managed to, as you just mentioned, pick up the full 3 points.
And we said that was a game that's probably going to be quoted as a 6-point game later on down the season. Heroic, they're knocked off the top, at least for now. BDS can take it. They're still second place. They're still in a good stead, but I guess we'll see if that's something that continues or becomes the start of something painful. We'll throw it to a quick break before we're back with the desk after this.